All right, so I've decided to start taking lunches for the first time, and it feels really strange to not be at the office for 9 to 10 hours straight. Like taking breaks at 10 and 3, and then actually leaving the office for a full hour. And I didn't realize how necessary it was to take breaks from work because I felt like the culture, the Evil Corp culture frowned upon people taking breaks. And now that I'm taking breaks, like this is my second break of my entire career, it feels strange because there was so much chaos going on in the office when I left. Literally everything that could be shifted onto my plate was being put on my plate. And it goes from nothing's happening to 5 seconds later, a server crashes somewhere. And you're just like, what just happened? Because suddenly you weren't busy, and now you've got like my friend Jennifer who's messaging me, and she's just like, Millennial Steam, I need help. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then suddenly I have another um, end user that messages me, and it's like, my computer's acting strange. Can I bring it to your office? And she's a cutie, so of course, you know, the computer people don't get to see many women. So she comes into the office and she starts ragging on the corporation. Like, I kid you not, she comes over and she says, Millennial Steam. Ooh, I've got, I've got some nasty things to say about this place. And I was just like, you know what? You don't ever have to filter yourself in my presence. You can say whatever you want. She just looked at me and she grimaced and she said, I will. And I was just like, this lady, this lady looks like she's tough. And she's really sporty and tall. I think she's probably close to 6 feet tall. But anyhow, with all of this happening, you've got server problems, you've got network problems, you've got Windows problems, you've got problems with employees that are disgruntled, you got people who are having family issues, you've got a guy who's got all kinds of mental disorders going on in his head, and you're just like, and I'm talking to the office president at the same time, and he's winking at me about the problems at this place, and I'm just like, oh Lord. And that doesn't even begin to cover walking into the office this morning and Gen Zero is uh, he's looking haggard, man. He is looking rough because whatever's wrong in the office, there's something bad in that environment. And Gen Zero is like, you need to ask the office manager to fix the air in this room. And I'm like, okay, I'll get around to it. I don't see that their icon isn't lit up yet, so they haven't made it to work. And so then within 5 minutes, he's asking me again and again. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to walk over, see if he's around. And I walked over and I said to him, hey, my employee's having a hard time with being at the office. He has a heart problem that's being made worse by whatever's going on in here. And he says to me, I don't know what to tell you, man. And so I call up the corporate office and I say to them, hey, there's something wrong with this building. This isn't the first or second or third or fourth or fifth time. Ever since I started working for this Evil Corp, there was something wrong with that place. Like it smelt like the carpet had been there for the entire time the building has stood. Like the carpet smells so terrible. And everything, if the room is too cold, too hot, or whatever, as long as there's like movement in the room, something gets stirred up and it's really messing with Gen Zero. So I had to call them and figure out what we're going to do in order to see what's wrong with that room. Why is Gen Z having heart like disturbances from breathing the air? So I don't know what to tell you. And he just wasn't going to have it. And I'm just like, okay, maybe he's just hypersensitive to everything that's around him. And he just keeps looking at the vents. And I'm just like, okay. All right. So that craziness. And of course, Simultaneously, I'm getting calls from other offices that their domain controllers, their main server rooms are going down. I call our guy and he's like, "You better go check. It sounds like the room might be overheating and shutting down because it has happened before, where there wasn't enough circulation of air, cold air getting into the equipment room, and the equipment slowly started shutting down because technology doesn't like heat. I'll tell you that much. It just doesn't like heat in any conceivable way. And as soon as it gets too hot, guess what it does? It turns off. Like here in Arizona, and I'm just going to use my own personal examples. Once Arizona gets to a certain temperature above 100 degrees, I can't go outside and film anymore. The cameras will not work after a certain, I think it might be like 105 degrees. As long as the air temperature is 105 degrees, my GoPros, my drone, and my big Sony A7 will not work. They just shut down. And I've literally been filming a time lapse and a regular recording with the Sony. And I come back a few minutes later because I'm not sure if you guys have ever done time lapse photography, but it takes a long, long time. And 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 it's just that's just the way it is. It's just it takes a picture every so many seconds, and if you're gonna sit there for 45 minutes to an hour to get a good time lapse of something, but technology doesn't work in the heat. So as soon as those big computers get heated up, their safety mechanisms cause them to shut off. Rather than burning themselves up, this is why technology shuts itself off. It reaches a certain level and it has safety mechanisms built right into it so that you don't burn up your equipment and it just turns itself off. And that wasn't the situation today, but when I called the network group and I asked them again, and I asked them this yesterday morning. It's like, why am I not able to contact this particular computer? And he's like, I don't know. Today I called, I didn't know who to call, if it was server or network, because they're two distinct groups, right? One handles the main computers for the entire Evil Corp, and the other one makes certain that all the internet at all the 25 offices works correctly. So I was seeing errors on the screen like that the computers were just down, like the domain was just gone. And I was getting different messages under accessing it in different ways. And so that again is another red flag for, hey, we don't really know what's going on. And so I contact the manager of the group that's supposed to be overseeing that group, and he tells me that we're aware of this, we just didn't tell anyone. So I get to find out by having an end user walk into my office and handing me their computer and saying, "Fix it, Millennial Steam." I look at them and I just like, I don't know what to say. It's like, my food is too cold, my food is too hot, my food is too spicy, I don't like my food. Change the taste of my food. And so I tell her that, if she goes home and works from home, everything will work fine. And she just like smiles. Is like, that's the answer I wanted to hear. I can't work at work today because the technology people can't make it work. So I'm going to go home and work. And so that is always something the end user loves to hear because no one wants to be in the office. At the same time that that's happening, I'm getting two other calls. One from another angry manager at another site, and she tells me, "Hey, I have a worker who can't work. She's been working off of her phone for the last week because no one will help her." And that was another complaint I got today. Literally, I was talking to her, and she's like, that piece of crap guy that works over there in that other department? I literally sent him a message yesterday and I saw him look at it, and then not respond. And she was so mad about that because she's like, that guy never does anything. And I'm like, hey, that guy works in, he works in like, I don't know what he works. He's some sort of database guy or some interface, um, like application interface guy. I've never had a good experience with him. So I just like, what? That's normal for that guy. And so I wasn't sure what to say, but at the same time, I'm getting another request from another person on that side of the technology department saying, "Hey, I need a new computer right now." And I'm like, "What do you mean right now?" He's like, "Right now." I'm like, "Okay." Well, that's also happening. I'm getting a delivery of things that aren't even part of my world. And of course, I have a lot of things that are shipped back to my office that get redistributed to other offices. So my job is kind of like being a hub for the entire corporation. So I take in things, I package them, or I get them picked up or sent out. I have appointments all the time. And I'm also at the same time trying to deal with larger problems. And really, what it comes down to is the personalities of the end users. A lot of people end up in my area just because they're frustrated out of their minds and they can't get anyone that will listen to them. No one's paying attention to them. And so they can only be patient for so long before they start getting upset. And so once they reach that level of upsetness that causes them to start losing their you know what, I end up talking to them. And the first thing they say to me is, "Millennial Steam, you're not like them." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You listen, you pay attention to us, you care." And I'm like, maybe, maybe you should realize that's what you're saying because I'm not that guy. But I've heard it. I've actually had letters sent to my boss telling him how good I am at dealing with people. And since my boss isn't a people person, he looks at those letters and thinks, "Oh my God, Millennial Steam's wasting time." That's really what it comes down to. Being able to treat people like human beings in the workplace according to a technology upper level person is a waste of time because these people don't get to know the end users. These people aren't on the ground, they're remote, they're far, far away removed from the day to day life of being in an office and having to have someone walk in with what I call like the sick puppy, right? They walk in, they look sad, they're frustrated, and they're like, my my puppy, my laptop is just not working today. And you just look at him and it's like, "Well, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to put it out of its misery. Here's another one that looks just like it. Be on your way, and when that one dies, you just come back here and I'll just keep giving you new ones until there's no more." And that's how you handled dealing with people. And oh my goodness gracious. Oh my god. That's a lot. Anyhow, I just lost my train of thought. So that's been the office today. You guys aren't going to watch this video until I get home at 4 or 5 because I have to go to the delivery service and drop off 3 packages that have to be there before 8 o'clock a.m. on tomorrow. And so, on top of all of my stress, I also have to do that. I have to make certain that things get to the shipping store by a certain time because if you're going to pay for expensive shipping, you have to get it there by a certain time. So I am going to have to package that up. I let Gen Zero know because he was at lunch when these requests came in that I needed them packaged up and ready to go by the time I got back, and hopefully I'll be able to rush out, get that done, and then come back to the office. So I need to go back and check up on that. I gotta leave here within a couple minutes. I gotta go take a massive dump here momentarily. I'm not looking forward to the way that that's. They say that you get used to your own flavor after so long, but I don't think you ever do. Like I feel like the stink lines coming out from between my legs every time I go and take a massive dump. All right, I gotta get in the car, get back to the office, and see if the mushroom cloud is still hovering over the office at this point.